Welcome to the channel, everyone. Tonight we are inside. We are going to be working on my 2006 Chevy Trailblazer. In previous videos I've had some things I've had to fix. I've had some problems with the emissions, and I've had a few other minor things to deal with. And also we put a brand new computer on it because the whole Trailblazer did not have overdrive. That's another story for another video. All the videos that I did on this Trailblazer, I have a playlist for that called For the Love of Trailblazers. You'll find a lot of stuff about this Trailblazer. But what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be replacing some fuel injectors on this thing. For the most part, I think I've got a miss in number 2. It's a very slight miss. We got all the codes cleared and everything, but I'm getting a random misfire. And also, I found it yesterday where it said cylinder number 2. Now, earlier, about a year ago, I flipped around some spark plugs, flipped around the coils, and it still came up with that cylinder. So really the only thing I couldn't do was this right here. I couldn't get these injectors in. You have to basically take off the plenum here, unbolt that to get into those injectors. And I haven't seen too many videos on YouTube about how to do this. So maybe this will be one for you. There's a lot of videos that talk about how to do it, but they don't show you. So there's a couple of bolts that are kind of hard to get to in behind this plenum here. So hopefully we can get into those. And also I've ordered some intake gaskets. Got these for like 20 bucks or so. So hopefully we get this slight miss out of there. If we don't get the miss out, it's very slight. When you're in gear at a light, you kind of feel it kind of like pulsating just a little bit. So these are things that you really get used to feeling when you're working on vehicles for most of your life. So hopefully we can get that taken care of. And hopefully we can get this thing running pretty good again. So far I'm happy with it, but I like to have it running perfect. And here is a quick look at one of these fuel injectors here. You can see they're pretty long, so I haven't taken them out of the package yet, but they're pretty long. We'll get those in, and hopefully this video will help you out. So let's get to it and see what we can get done. Alright, so we got to start by getting some of this stuff out of the way. We've got this air cleaner, we got this piece there, we got this hose here we got to take off, and we got a clip right here, the wire, get that off, and I'll unhook that in a second. And there are some 13 mil bolts here, we're going to take one here off, and actually there's some nuts, one there and one there. Pull this whole thing out of here, and you got a couple wires, and also a couple hoses down here, so don't forget those and don't break those when you're pulling this out of here. Get this out, and this is out. Just wanted to show you these two hoses here. Don't break those, because if you break these, you're gonna have trouble getting this back on. And there's those two little plugs right there, and this thing's almost full, holds 1.5 gallons. I had to drain some of it out. There's still some in here, so be careful and not spill it or break these little tabs off on the end of these here, because these break off. You have to replace this whole thing. So we got that out. Put this off to the side now. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this piece here out. Got a couple of clamps here. Got one here. I think that's, well, actually I think that's the only one. Got a couple of 10mm bolts. One here. And we've got one back here in the back. Once we get these out, it was good. Get this thing out of the way. I don't think there's anybody on YouTube that works on Trailblazers anymore like I do. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Alright, so get that out. Alright, here comes this last one. It should come off fairly easy. I've had this off in the past. By the way, when I took that reservoir off for the water hose, for the windshield washers and the hoses, these two nuts here are what holds it on. Now I should be able to get this right off. Pretty easy, and I think we've got another hose on the bottom here. It's connected. Yep, right here. This little guy here. Always check these, because these dry rot and break a lot right here, and you'll get a hissing sound, and you'll get a code for running rich or lean. I forget which one it is, so something you want to check here. And now we'll just get this out of the harness there. Alright, there's that. And so that was pretty easy. And now we're down to our plugs and our coils. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is in the back, I believe. Yeah. So 1, 2. This one here, the cylinder, this is the one that's giving me problems. That's missing a little bit. So we'll see. We'll continue here. All right, moving right along. We've got a couple of wires and plugs here. We've got to kind of disconnect. Get some of these off here. Just take your time at it, because you don't want to break anything. Not only that, if the engine's cold, these wires are a little stiff. And they're more easy broken. So there's that. Alright, so the next thing you want to do is go ahead and unplug all these computer wires. Now, I've had these off before, so they should be fairly easy to get off. Alright, well, a screwdriver might help me out just a little bit there. That goes up like that, and you just pull it out on it like this, and check those seals, make sure they're not torn or anything. Same here, just kind of pull up on the handle, and it releases that on that computer. Like I said, this is a new computer. It's been programmed, and got the same VIN number in it, and all that. And also, I had to program it when I got it home. I had to turn the key on and off 3 times to get it to work. Then I had to do a crank sensor relearn. Another video on that on my channel, which wasn't too bad. I had to buy an extra computer tester for that, an OBD2 tester, I should say. And we'll just kind of push these out of the way. Now we've got these little 10 millimeter bolts here. We'll pull this out. Actually, right now we can just go ahead and just pop this out of the housing for now. Just lift it out. There it is. That's a pretty much a brand new one. There's a place on eBay that guys do programming and all that. Like I said, I had no overdrive, no first. Turned out the computer had been shorted out. Someone shorted out the wires inside the transmission. And now we'll go ahead and loosen all these tins up. I should have brought my little cordless power ratchet out, but a lot of my videos you'll see very few power tools. Why? Because I like to be punished, I guess. I don't know. Alright, let's go ahead and get these out. All these 4 out. Alright, we're on our last one. I was going through my video and I was checking my intro into the video. Man, I look like a ghost in here with all these lighting, this hot lighting. Look like Casper the Ghost. White face. Alright, so there's all that. Get that out of the way. Hey, let me know where you're watching from right now. Alright, so we're doing pretty good. So we'll go ahead and get this little connector off here. Just push down that little tab right there. I wish all connectors were like that. So much easier. See if we can snake this out without breaking it. I think what we're going to do, we're just going to leave it down here for now. Leave it over there out of the way. I think it'll be okay right there for now. Clear our bolts out. Once we get our bolts out, we should be able to slide that off eventually out of the way. Alright, let's get this vacuum line unhooked. The engine's fairly cold. I brought it in here a couple hours ago, and I have a little heat in here, so. Oh. Let's get this out of the way. Alright, so as you can see down here, we have fairly decent access. Now, I don't remember if this was bolted on here before. Someone worked on this before I got. There may be a bracket, so you may have to pull this emissions line back a little bit, this testing port. So at this point, it looks like we can go ahead and plan on start taking out some of these bolts. Now, they're all on the bottom down here. There are, I believe, 12. And these are all 10 millimeter bolts. So there's, if I spin the camera around here a little bit, you might be able to see a couple of them here if I get the light just right. Alright, so most of the bolts are right down there. If I zoom in right about there where my finger is, I think you can probably see one of them. There's a series of them that go across the bottom of this plenum. They're like up and down, all the way to the back. And I think on this side, with my long arms and extension, I may be able to get most of those out. But I'm going to start back here in the back over on this side, because those seem to be the hardest to get into. So if I can get those out, then these here won't be much of a problem. But I'm going to double check, make sure there's nothing else here. And actually, the fuel line is right here. And you can see the injector test ports right there where my finger is, and those injectors run right up under this piece. So you have to take it off to get in there. So see what we can get done here. Alright, so one of the hardest bolts I was worried about, I've actually got, and I've got just this little tiny socket here, and it's a 10, and if you go right back about here, put your other hand back here on the back side of this, you can feel that bolt, and get it. And I've already got it all the way out, loosened and everything. And the bolts don't come out of this. They kind of get them all the way out, and there's a washer on the backside, I believe. It keeps it from falling out. So that one's all the way loose. It's a little tight, but my hand is on it right there, and it's out. So we're going to start back there and work our way forward here and just take them out one at a time like that. All right, so we got the one up in front here loose. So I want to put my hand here. Hear this? That's that bolt. So you can get to it. I've got to the other one right here. It's pretty much all the way out. As far as it'll come out right here. And now we'll do the next one, which is right here. And I'm shocked. Some of these were already loose, so I'm wondering if this was part of my issue with the, I believe, running lean code. But look how easy this is to break loose. Two of them I can turn with my fingers, so that's kind of scary. Someone's worked on this before, so we'll just continue here taking these out. Let me show you with my finger. It's right there. See that little bolt sticking there? Right there. That's where you got to get your little extension in there and get that. So that air, you have to pretty much twist this hose, move it out of the way. I know it's out, but I already got that one loose. And all these bolts are really loose. A couple of them, like I said, 2 or 3 of them, I can turn with my finger. So that might be my whole problem. Why I had one of the codes earlier for running, I believe it was lean. But anyway, we got that one out. For the most part, we got all the bolts out of the Plenum, except a couple. And you can see this thing is really loose now. And you didn't think this job was going to be that easy, did you? Nope. We got to do one more thing. This might make you cringe a little bit. We got to get this alternator out of the way because we have a bolt back behind here that's on the front end of this Plenum that you can't get to. Yeah. So this alternator is not too bad. We just got to slip the bellet off, take a couple bolts off here, and just kind of push it out of the way that we can get in here. And I'm going to disconnect this fuel line real quick. So it's not too bad. Now some of the envoys have a double return line here, the closer line that goes back to the Plenum. You have to take that line off even to pull this out of here. So lucky me, I don't have a return line. It's just a straight fuel line going up to the vehicle. So we're going to go ahead and get this out of the way. But we'll go ahead and get this alternator out of the way. Shouldn't be too bad there. Moving right along here, a couple of things. I did take this bracket out here straight forward, a couple of bolts, a small bolt here, and there's one bolt in the back, that bracket that goes there. And it kind of sets up like that. Like I said, that bolt back here in the back, kind of hidden. You got to go in the back and get that. And of course, unhooking the fuel line, I just use something like this. No problem. Unhook that with no issues whatsoever. Now, from what I understand, some of the envoys are a little difficult to get out because they have a return line, like I said, and it's real close to this Plenum. So that's something hopefully you won't get into if you're working on one. But the Trailblazer so far is 06 hasn't been too bad. And on the bottom there is a pulley. Just put a regular 1/4-inch ratchet in it and loosen your belt and take it off. Now, one thing you got to do, give yourself enough slack. Now, I'm going to show you this with this ratchet here. A lot easier to do like this. When you put this on there and you go to turn that like this and you release that belt, and when you release that tension off that tensioner, well, this ratchet is going to continue to go on back, and you might actually hit this here and break it. This sensor here, this VVD sensor. So be careful. I hit that and I thought I ruined it, but luckily I didn't. So I just unhooked it and kind of moved this connector out of the way because it is sticking out quite a way. So whatever you do, wow, just be careful with that. Try not to hit that. So what I do, when you go to take that off, don't just stick it in there like this. Go about like this and go way down, release that belt, and when you come up, it'll stop like this. And it won't flip back and snap and hit that right there. So just so you know. And as for the alternator bolts, well, they're pretty easy. There's one right here and one right back here to get to. There's one on the bottom that you can only get with a ratcheting wrench. So I stuck this on here and kind of stuck it in between the blades of the fan because it's under that alternator, and this will give you enough leverage to break it loose. And once it starts breaking loose, you can actually just kind of go like this, put this at an angle, and take it the rest of the way out. And it's actually almost out. You can see it there. Can you see it right down there? Kind of on that hose right there where that little hook is. It should be out far enough for me to get this alternator out of the way. But if I put my hand down here, it won't come out any further. It's kind of hung up on this hose. So that's out far enough right there. I know, I had to get my ratcheting wrench, the power one, because I'm getting kind of tired out here and I wanted to get these out. And I was bragging earlier that I don't use power tools, but sometimes I give in. Alright, so there's those bolts. So now this alternator should just kind of pull out, push out of the way. Now be careful with some smaller wires on the back here. You don't want to break those. So if that's out of the way, that's really all you got to do. Like I said, the bottom bolt on the alternator is the hardest one to get to. Just kind of have some patience with that. Alright, so that bolt is right about there. You can see where the extension's going in, where my thumb is. And I just cannot believe how loose all these bolts are. This is just unbelievable. I'm surprised this thing ran as good as it did. The dent is all the way out. And you can see how much play we got on that. We got one more up on the top here, I believe. Right about here. We have to take out this plenum. It's pretty much ready to come out. I'm going to double check to make sure I don't see any surprises or have anything else here hanging it up. Let me just turn the camera a little bit for you. There you go. See, it's pretty much ready to come out. So let me get set up a little bit better here. Alright. You just got to take your time with these because it's easy to only have a bolt in a couple of threads. There we go. I had one right there that was not quite all the way out. There we go. Alright, so looks like we're about ready to get it out of here. So we'll go ahead and fish it out. Alright, we're so close. There's a wiring harness on the bottom of this that I had to disconnect. It was hanging up. I'll show you that here in a second. But I think you can move this AC line just a little bit. Looks like it's ready to come on out. It's kind of awkward. A year and a half later, I finally got it out. Unbelievable. I am so happy. And wow, look at all the oil that's been leaking back here. So, like I said, all these bolts are loose. All of these. And here is the wiring harness connector right here that you have to disconnect. There's a big bundle that goes through there, so just unhook it right here and just drop the wiring harness down, and we're good. All right. All right. Boy, you don't know how tickled to death I am to get this thing out, but here is the bolt pattern. There, 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 there. The one you got to work for. Right there. There, 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 there. And there's that wiring harness, and there it is right here. This big thing. You gotta pull it back like that. It's a little tight in there, so everything looks good. I don't see anything broken. I didn't break anything, I don't think. I did have to move those hoses back there, and I heard something snap right about there. I need to check that hose. I think that's that plastic bracket back there. But other than that, it's out. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and disconnect some of these wires and stuff. And I'll tell you what, these clips are some of the most difficult clips to work with. You have to pull that little green tab pretty much all the way out. Just to be able to push on this tab right there to release that. And if you just pull it out enough and try to do this, it still won't come out. But so what I'm going to do, I just connected it up here, the wiring harness, and we're just going to pull this whole fuel rail out with the injectors and everything. There's 4 bolts there. We're just going to take those out. Then I can deal with this, but man, these things are really hard to work with. So let me just take the whole rail out as one unit. All right, I think we just both got it. All right. All right, let's just get this whole thing out. Oh, so number 2 injectors right here, and I don't know, but you can see how these clips are in there. You pull this green tab out partially, and you would think it would let you release this, but you still can't get. You just almost have to pull this whole thing out. But anyway, it's out, and it wasn't too bad. So there we go. That's how you get your fuel injector rail. I have a 2006 Trailblazer. Yay! Alright, I got the last piece of this green crap out. I tell you what, these are not going back in. We don't need them. Because look, There's the clip. You push on it, boom, release it. You push it back on, clip, it ain't coming off. Why they stuck those on there, I have no idea, but I got them all off without breaking anything. So just beware. They probably have a special tool called J755 FU tool or something, you know. I don't know, but I got them out. And now, all we have to do is put our new injectors in and all that and clean it up a little bit. So, whew, glad that's over with. Hard part's done. All right, before I go ahead and put these injectors back in all that, I'll go ahead and give you a look at the side of this engine and what it looks like there and where all the bolts are. And you can see way in the back there, that's that one I was telling you about. You can get to it. You don't even need a swivel. Just use a little 3/8. Little extension. You can actually get that out. And there's a look at the rest. How it goes up through there like that. And number 2 was right here for me. And I bet you these bolts were loose and it was sucking a little bit of air. Probably did this for nothing, but we'll see. But I still think, you know, it's not going to hurt to put a new injectors in it. And of course, the reason we took the alternator off for this bolt right there. And that is that. So I'll take a vacuum cleaner and clean all that dirt off from those injector holes, and we'll put the injectors in tomorrow. But for the meantime, I'll go ahead and set up the rail here, put the new injectors in it, and all that. And I marked the number 2 with a red one, so I don't get them mixed up with my used parts. That's the one in question. But like I said, it might be okay. I don't know. So anyway, there was a nice look at the side of the engine. As I like to say, it's out with the old and in with the better. All right, they're all on. Got a little grease on them. Went right in. No problems there. So now we'll go ahead and stick it on. We'll clean up the injector holes a little bit. Clean everything out. I've already vacuumed all the dirt out. We'll go ahead and get this on. Oh, that's always a good sound when you're putting things back together and it's going just the way you want. Yes, all right. There we go, 6 brand new fuel injectors. Now, for all you people that are stuck into the video this long, I did do a compression check on this. I'm just checking to see if you're still sticking around. I like the comments like, oh, you should have did a compression check. Well, I did. They were all flying earlier, so this is why we're doing the fuel injector. You know, I'm in here, I might as well just do them, right? They were only 40 bucks, so. All right, let's keep on moving. All right, guys, we're in. It's all done. Everything went back together. And notice what's missing. Those little green clips, they're in the trash. We don't need those. All right, so I took all this intake gasket off here, and I can't tell if this is the original factory one or someone's replaced this before. It's not really all that stiff, but it does come off pretty easy. Anyway, we've got new ones to put on it. Clean those up. Actually, put those off to the side. They're still usable. We'll just put them in a pile of my used stuff. We'll clean this up and put the new ones on. All right, here's our new gaskets. Yay! Parts geeks. Okay. So we'll get those on, and look at that. Same color. So maybe someone's worked on this before. I don't know. Anyway, all right. All right, so those are on. I've got one more to do here, and you know, for what it's worth, you know, somebody may have worked on this before because it might explain why all these bolts were loose to begin with. These gaskets here are a little heavier duty. They got more little ridges in them here, support ridges, bumps, if you will. So that's it. It's on. It's all cleaned up. That's cleaned up. Nothing here to show you. I'm just going to go ahead and slide it on and start a couple of these bolts with my fingers and all that. And when you go to put this in, I don't think I'm going to bother replacing this gasket up here because this has never even been off, and I don't think there's any issues with it. And if I have to take it off, I can do it on the vehicle. But before you go to put it on, kind of get a visual of where all the bolts is, kind of have a mental feel for it because it'll make your job a lot easier. And you can start a lot of these with your fingers. Don't start 1 or 2 and get on there and lean on it, because if you do, you could snap one of these pieces of plastic off. Just make sure you get a bunch in there first, and we'll kind of turn that like that. Now, one other thing is when you go to, before you even pull this hose off, you're probably going to grab it and go, oh my God, it's hard, it's stiff. Well, I thought the same thing, but I got a screwdriver, and like I said, it was just enough to pop it off there. So yeah, this is a stiff hose, so just be aware of that. Other than that, just take your time at it. Pull this wiring harness here back, down, out of the way a little bit. Check your starter wires and stuff, and that's about it. So I did check this back here. Actually, a little plastic tab just kind of came off in the back on that, but it's on there. It won't hurt anything. Just an air hose. So that's that. So when we come back here, we'll have this all together. Well, at least this anyway. All right, we interrupt this broadcast for an important message right in the middle of the video. When you get ready to put this on, do yourself a favor. Take this barometric pressure sensor thingy here out. And also on the bottom of that wiring harness goes on the bottom of that plenum. Get this out of the way too, because this makes it a lot easier. This thing here kind of gets hung up right there. And you got to fiddle around with it. Once you get it in there, don't bolt it on just yet. Look back in there. Make sure your gaskets didn't pop off. They're all on. Now we can go ahead and continue to do that. So, yeah, taking it out wasn't so bad because you got this thing here. It kind of falls down and gets in the way, but you can slide it out under that out, but getting it back in, it kind of catches it. So, and you don't want to break it anyway. All right, back to our regular scheduled video. Get the rest of my socket and extension out there. All right, it's all done. It's all together. All I got to do is put the barometric pressure thing back on here. And put that little clip on that bundle down there, that little wiring harness right there. So guys, if you can do this, you can save yourself $750. This is what they wanted to do this job. Yeah. So hopefully this will help you out. All right, so when we come back here, we'll have most of this together and we'll be about ready to start it up and all that good stuff. And boom, just like that, it is all back together. It's a little scary when everything goes back together with no problems, you know. Usually you break a few things or everything went back. I did lose my little socket down into there. I'm going to have to fish it out from underneath a little bit later, but everything's together. We got the battery hooked up. So we're going to start it up for the first time. And I'm going to have to prime those injectors because they have absolutely no fuel in them. Hopefully she'll start right up after we do that. So that's good. Prime it there. Hear the fuel pump running. All right, it stopped already. All right, let's hit her. See what she does. All right, started right up, and she feels pretty smooth. Of course, a little too early. No check engine lights. All right, we're good there. Have to let it warm up a little bit. Get everything kind of going through the system, get the ejectors primed right, the air out of the system. But all right, well, it's smooth. Yep. So we'll let her warm up, and what we'll do is take her for a ride, go out on the highway, let her warm up, and I'll see if I still have that slight miss, or if we have any other check engine lights that come back on. I'm curious to see if that evap light went off and the number 2 cylinder misfire. So next thing I might do later is go ahead and put brand new plugs in it. But the coils, they seem to be okay. But the main thing was get the fuel injectors in. But they're in, and I'll let her warm up, and we'll come back later as we drive it. All right, everyone, it's been a couple of days, and we put over 100 miles on it, and no problems whatsoever. And we checked the codes here. We don't even have any pending codes showing up. All the codes are off. Seem to be running pretty good. And if we even go back into the Chevrolet Enhanced codes, here you can see nothing going on. So we're good there. So I'm pretty happy about that. One thing that is kind of puzzling about this thing here is if you go back up here to just the ODB2 codes, you'll see a couple little red lights there. Well, I don't know. It seems like maybe I might still have a slight emissions issue because I have the evap and the cat light. It hasn't gone through all of its cycles, and it seems like it's been 100 miles or so. By now those have cleared off, but it could be a gas cap issue. Could be having a little bit of a problem back there, but the main codes are off. The running rich, or I believe it was running lean earlier in the video, and some other things there, the misfire code and all that. So seems to be running pretty smooth. So at least now you know how to take off the intake plenum in case you have to get in there and do any work. So that was mainly what this video was about. So there you go. So now if I drop it down into gear, it doesn't really shake like it used to. It had a little bit of a pulsating feel, but that could be just a balance issue in the engine or the torque converter, who knows. But Main thing is we don't have any check engine lights on, so I'm real happy about that. I think we're almost back to factory OEM. All right, there we go, everyone. It's done. The work we did should make it last quite a long time. Remember, there's a playlist on my channel for the love of Trailblazers. Did a lot of things to the Trailblazers over the last couple of years. Might help you out and all that. So, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a big old thumbs down. Till the next video. See you guys later. All right, we just about got this hose out. What you can do is take your screwdriver and kind of separate it and push down on it. It's a stiff hose. You have to move it out of the way like this and just kind of twist it. There's one more bolt in the back right here behind this hose you got to get in there and get. And for this bolt, it's best for me just to grab the camera and let me show you with my finger. It's right there. See that little bolt sticking there? Right there. That's where you got to get your little extension in there and get that. So that air, you have to pretty much twist this hose, move it out of the way. I know. It's out.